Well, if you've been looking for an affordable place to buy or rent, you know the housing crisis continues to grip the region. But today marks the last day for Rhode Island's current Secretary of Housing, Stefan Pryor. He joins me now. Thanks so much for being here.
Great to be with you.
So you said that there's never really a perfect time to walk away. And I think about some of the projects that you've been involved with, that you've started, the Superman building,
Yes.
the housing at Tidewater Landing in Pawtucket,
Yes.
and the pallet shelters in Providence.
Yes.
Do you feel like you have any unfinished business that you're leaving behind?
Oh, to be sure. The goal in serving as Housing Secretary in this case was to help to start up this new agency and to get projects and programs going. So when Governor McKee asked me to serve in this capacity, I originally said, hey, could we do this with the formal title of acting or interim? And the governor wisely said, let's not lame duck the team, go for Senate confirmation. But still, the goal was to stay about a year. I've been in for a year and a half, and we've gotten a lot going. So the aforementioned projects are underway in various forms. There still needs to be work on them. In addition, we've financed over 2,600 units of housing, thanks to our partnership with Rhode Island Housing. And we have also increased the number of shelter beds for Rhode Islanders experiencing homelessness, a 32% increase in the number of shelter beds to around 1,400 beds across the state for vulnerable Rhode Islanders. On top of that, we've managed to get a bond placed on the ballot. That's the largest bond to finance housing in Rhode Island history at $120 million. So that's all happening, and there's more in store. But this was a startup phase, and I'm very pleased that we've gotten this new department off the ground along with these programs.
You know, I was going to ask you what you think some of your biggest accomplishments were while you were in this position. Sounds like you've just listed some of them.
I'm happy to name another one.
Sure.
There's another important fact. This is something Rhode Islanders should be proud of and keep their eye on. The housing permits that have been issued in Rhode Island through April, that's the latest data, the Census Bureau puts it out across the country. That permit data shows that we're up 515 for the year, 515 permits, which is 30% better than last year and 42% better than 2022. And it's the best number we've had of housing permits in Rhode Island since 2007. So the system is working better. We are starting to build more housing. Is the job altogether done? Of course not. Is there much more investment and focus needed? Definitely. That's what this new housing department can do, and I'm very grateful that Governor McKee, Speaker Shekarchi, and Senate President Ruggiero are focused.
And so let's talk about passing the baton. We learned earlier today that the current Chief of Staff at EOHHS, Daniel Connors, will be taking your place as interim secretary while a permanent search is underway. Did the governor consult you about who should take over, temporarily or permanently?
We did have discussions. I'm not going to get into my specific conversations, but I will tell you this. I'm very pleased that it's Dan Connors. He and I have had the chance to work together across 2 gubernatorial administrations, and I've seen Dan in action in the public sector and the private sector for that matter. He knows how to serve as an administrator. He knows how to run an agency or agencies plural, and he's going to be the kind of steady hand listener and person who advances the agency that we need in an interim period. So it's really the ideal choice.
So again, the governor said he's not going to be your permanent replacement.
Correct.
You are not going to divulge who you think should be the permanent replacement?
No, I'm going to allow my conversations with the governor to remain with the governor as they should be. But I will add that I'm very grateful to Governor McKee for his support during my own interim service here. We knew that it would be a challenging process. I don't think we knew how much we would be able to accomplish in this year and a half. We're very pleased with how much we've been able to accomplish. The governor's really focused on the issue of housing in partnership with the General Assembly, so more is in store.
I want to talk to you about how your resignation came to be. The Boston Globe reported that members of your own office and the governor's team were caught off guard by the announcement. Hindsight is 2020. Should you have handled it differently?
I actually think that's not a completely accurate characterization. I was very pleased with the way in which the conversation with the governor's office unfolded, and it's always a surprise. It's never a perfect moment at some level, depending upon in the concentric circles of who you're talking to, who's finding out. What I will say is this. In my service as housing secretary during this year and a half, exceeding what we thought might be my tenure when we started, we went through 2 legislative cycles. We brought unprecedented resources to housing, including this largest ever housing bond, including a new low-income housing tax credit on the state level, including new resources for homelessness in our state. And we got the agency up and running. A startup is always challenging, but we got it up and running, and it's going to serve this state, I think, very well with this talented team for a very long time.
Let's talk about your future. Can you tell us where you're headed?
I can. I'm headed to the private sector. My new employer is going to make its own announcement on its timeline, but what I can tell you is I'll be able to work out of Rhode Island. They're not based in Rhode Island, but I'll work out of Rhode Island, and it's in impact investing, which means that they invest in companies, ventures, startups, long-standing companies that have a public mission or a social mission. So I'm excited that I will once again have the chance to invest in housing, education, American manufacturing, and in other disciplines and areas. And
your political future, we know you've sought office before. Can we expect to see you either seek office or return to the public sector in the future? Oh my goodness. I have to say, thank you for the question. I'm really privileged to receive the question and honored that you would ask, but I know that I will in many ways continue to serve the public. Maybe in volunteer capacities, maybe in other capacities, maybe soon, maybe not so soon. I have no thoughts at the moment about really anything other than making this transition to Dan Connors and enabling him to move on to a permanent successor, having that happen in the best way. But I'm staying in Rhode Island, of course, my home now, and really so grateful to live in the Ocean State and to contribute more here. All right, Stefan Pryor, that's all the time that we have. Thanks for being here. Thank you so much, Kim. Thank you.